All right, next let's break down our Tuesday strength components. Starting off with our barbell strict press. Once again though, keep this in mind. This isn't for everybody. If you have poor shoulder mobility, you're probably gonna be off using a pair of dumbbells, so you aren't just at this fixed point. Dumbbells have a little bit more leniency, especially if you're in a neutral grip. But if you do have good shoulder mobility, try it out with the bar. Also, you can go from a rack. I'm just cleaning it here, but I recommend going from a rack, picking it up, positioning to start off. I like to have those elbows slightly in front of the bar and out, keeping the lats engaged. Most people, when they line up like this. Well, if we're lining up here, we're automatically pushing the bar. We're aiming away from you. We don't want the bar out and away. We want it straight above head. How do we do that? We keep those elbows slightly in front of the bar, engage your lats, squeeze the glutes tight, move the head out of the way of the bar, not looking up. Move it back and press, head through the window to finish. Now to control the weight down, you want to finish with your elbows slightly in front of the bar again. Really focus on engaging your lats, pulling them down. And keeping that brace throughout your lift. And also keep in mind, strict press means you are strictly using your arms and your shoulders, absolutely no assistance from the legs. Those stay pretty much locked out. From there, we've got some banded external shoulder rotations. Just dialing in on the shoulder here, coming across the body with the arm tied to the rig. We want to think about pinning the elbow into the side, rotating out, external rotation in the shoulder, and then bring it back in. Controlled the entire time. A few things to focus on. Make sure your elbow isn't going out and away. Keep it pinned in. Next one, subtle, but the wrist. See here how I'm isolating, moving the wrist? I notice a lot of people do this during the motion is they lead with the wrist. The wrist will start the movement and pull you all the way through. Then the wrist will break and pull you back in. And that really takes away from our targeted area. I want us to focus on keeping this still, not letting it go side to side. Keep that locked. And then fire. And I think a lot of people do this because when you let the wrist break, once again, it takes away from the targeted area, but it also allows you to have a larger range of motion, which I think people find, oh, I'm moving it farther, I must be doing it better. Keep in mind, most exercises, you're not trying to have the largest range of motion as possible, because there's a certain point when you hit a specific range of motion, you're done using the targeted area. If you're moving past that, you're using other parts of the body to make that movement happen. So just keep that in mind. Any exercise, most exercises, we're not trying to just have the largest range of motion you can possibly have. Find the range of motion where we're actually utilizing the targeted area. After that, our AHP dumbbell squats. With these, I typically coach toes out slightly when we squat. With these today, we specifically want those toes going directly forward. We're looking for 90-degree eccentric isometrics here. So we're not going past the 90-degree mark on our squat. Eccentrics, we're looking for a 3-second lowering phase, and then a 5-second isometric hold, and we hit that just above 90-degree mark, and then drive up. The purpose here is we're building strength, controlling our descent with the eccentric, and then that isometric, we're really developing strength, bracing, contracting, really holding the muscles active that we're trying to target. Now, first, let's talk about the squat. I want to make sure we're actually holding the weights out in front slightly, not resting them on the shoulders. There's a very specific reason. Once again, I'm resting the weights here. Could hold this a long time. If I hold them out slightly, I'm gonna have to activate a little bit more to keep that positioning. Go down, once again, 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 5-second hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, drive up. A few things that we're really trying to focus on here. Focus on engaging your hamstrings, contracting them as you're pulling yourself down with those hammies. That's gonna force us to use the posterior chain more. Even though squat's gonna be more quad dominant, we wanna make sure we're activating back here. When we're holding, we wanna make sure our head isn't coming forward. We're not looking back, we're pulling it back, getting all of our muscles engaged here. We're bracing the core, we're squeezing the glutes during that hold, and then driving up with a little bit of power. From there, our dumbbell hammy curls. Like I said, the squats we just did were quad dominant. We got some hammy activation, but they were quad dominant. Now we want to focus on a little bit of hamstring isolation. This is the setup I have to use to target hamstrings like this. Cables are a wonderful option. I wish I had cables to use, but I don't, so this is what I go with. Movement looks like so. Shorter range of motion than you think. You get that activation in your hamstring pretty dang quick. Biggest thing to focus on here. Ideally, you can't see this knee very well. Ideally, my left knee here is staying in line with my right knee. It's gonna waver a little bit, but we wanna try to keep those in line. Naturally, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna see my left knee jut out in front of the right. That's naturally what everyone wants to do. And what's happening here, we're using our hip flexors slightly to pull up, and we're taking away the isolation from your hamstring. So very big focus is we keep that alignment and curl up. Yes, it's gonna make it harder. Yes, it'll probably shorten your range of motion, but once again, we're not trying to make the biggest range of motion you can possibly do. We're trying to find true activation in our targeted muscles. And then what's our last one? Kneeling dumbbell chops. This is rotational core work. 1-3 tempo here. Powerful up, 3-second eccentric coming down. I want to think about, I'll give you a few reps first. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You truly want to think about throwing that weight away, but you're not using your arms to do it. Those arms are just kind of locked in place. What moves you is your torso, your core. You're rotating with power. And then to lower it, once again, you're not moving your arms. Those are locked. They stay in one position, and we lower ourselves with the torso. You want to think, if there was a laser pointing from my chest, that it's constantly going to be in line with the center of that dumbbell. If we lose that alignment, that tells me that you're leading with the arms and not the torso, the chest, the rotational core piece. Once again, that's the focus. Powerful drive up, 3 seconds, controlling the weight back down.